IVM.
If you've got money, you've got problems because as they say, more money, more problems. But if you want to learn how to deal with these money problems, I have a podcast recommendation for you. Paisa Vaisa, hosted by Anupam Gupta, is your weekly dose of financial advice and tips that you can use to multiply your money. Maybe, I don't know. Mutual funds are subject to market risk.
You can catch all these episodes and more on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of the Geek Fruit Podcast. We are following a grand tradition which has lasted only 2 episodes before this.
It's more of a tradition than any other series we've done.
Have you not done a series before?
No, not an in-depth dive like this.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, but this is cool. I like this. I think this was a long time coming, but we're on the 3rd episode now of our, animation through the ages kind of contextual, historical, comprehensive guide-ish thing.
It's a comprehensive compendium of all things cartoons.
But it's not really comprehensive because, we only have 1 hour a week. And because of that, we've had to skip a lot of gems. But we're going to try and cover all the other gems. So Dinkar and I today, hi Dinkar.
Hello.
Will be going through the next era of cartoons and one that is... I think so. We started off with your OGs, which was like in the 50s and the 60s and 70s, Hanna-Barbera, the Max Fleischer era. We then on a second episode went through 80s and 90s cartoons, which was like our era, I suppose, isn't it?
Kind of.
And I think it's
our
split between
era
this and,
because it's split between this one and the previous one. The 80s and 90s were very much ours because they came to us in the late 90s.
Also
early
because
2000s.
we were in the 80s and 90s. We
yes.
were born then and we grew up then.
Through the 90s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I grew up about 2 weeks ago. So
I grew up about, that way, yeah. In the last 6 months of 1989 is when I decided that I was going to check out some cartoons.
Do you know, have you ever heard that theory of about 80% of your personality being set in stone by the time you're 5?
Oh, really?
So they say. It's
I heard
probably
about,
like pseudoscience, but...
I heard another thing saying that you're about 80% your parents, despite whatever you do. And 20% is all that you add in terms of your own uniqueness.
This might also be true.
And then your own...
So out of that 20%, 80% of it was logged in when you were 5. So whatever cartoons we watched in the early 90s, that's who we are now.
No wonder I know so much Bollywood music and cricket. Anyway, we're going to be talking about the more modern age of cartoons. The ones which I'm talking about are, a lot of people call the golden era of Cartoon Network.
It was, right?
Yeah.
Just after it launched, when it experienced this boom in creators
Like
coming
95 onwards, I want to say.
Yeah.
When did Cartoon Network begin?
I'm going to find out.
We're going to find out right now. And we're also going to... We're going to talk about some of those cartoons.
Alexa, when did Cartoon Network start?
Why do you speak in that accent, though?
Because you have to talk in the Indian accent.
No, you
to
don't.
Alexa.
But she does. The Alexa, what do you call it? Amazon Echo. The cool skills and functions only work in the Indian language setting. Because it's been curated for us.
Alexa, ask Google. Or ask Siri.
Oh, God.
1992.
You think when we all go to sleep, they all go get a drink? They're just like,
Maybe.
I had a shitty day today.
And they have the drink and instantly short circuit.
Oh, God. Sorry. What time?
25 years ago.
What?
Well,
I'm almost...
26 really. 1992.
Yeah. We are older than Cartoon Network?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. All right. So what were those cartoons that you spoke of that form the golden era of Cartoon Network?
Well, one of them is the basis for the title of this very series. What a Cartoon Show.
Oh.
The What a Cartoon Show with an exclamation mark. So what this was, it was basically like a mixed bag variety sort of cartoon show where they'd have different random one-offs or or meetups between like different characters and whatnot. But basically, it was a half an hour, 45-minute block where creators were free to do anything they wanted.
Right.
So a lot of the shows which became running series on Cartoon Network were
Yeah.
essentially piloted here.
Yeah.
I will give you some examples. Tell me if you recognize any of these.
I do. Yeah. Yes. Go ahead.
The Powerpuff Girls.
100%.
Yeah, what a great show.
Yeah. What a
and that
cartoon
started here.
show.
Dexter's Laboratory.
Oh, I don't think I've seen a lot of these pilots. I think I've seen
I think they eventually became episode 1 of whatever series they
No,
were.
100%. The one which I 100% remember is Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yes,
it wasn't
that was
called
also
Courage the
launched, yeah.
Cowardly Dog. I think it didn't have an intro or whatever. It was just about courage, and he meets this duck from Mars. I don't know if you
Yeah,
remember that.
yeah, yeah.
A UFO comes down and a duck comes out of it, and they just have this insane fight. And because he's trying to kill his folks, that's basically
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So so I definitely remember that one.
Okay, wait, let's run through these in... let's use What a Cartoon Show as the framing device for this segment.
Let's do it.
And discuss these individually. The Powerpuff Girls. Is it the greatest show ever?
So we've done an episode on the Powerpuff Girls
Yes.
earlier. I think
On the
maybe-
reboot,
On the
specifically.
reboot. So when we got into the reboot, we Jishnu and I saw a bunch of episodes from the new show. I went on to watch a few more episodes. I really like it. I think it's great. But we also kind of looked back at the original show and why it was so special is because it was. I mean, I think for a lot of these shows, it was doing stuff which. Really, I think you put it well when you said it was so postmodern. It was just
Yeah.
taking all the tropes of earlier cartoons and really just like poking fun at it.
Yeah.
It was just really fun. There's so many satirical kind of elements that formed a big part of the entire dialogue of the show. And I think that was just really cool. And I think just the story of it just. A lot of these cartoon creators like Craig McCracken, Gandhi Tartakovsky, and even the new age guys, which we're going to talk about, like Pendleton Ward and all are like these Cal Arts students, and
Yeah.
they're just like, including a lot
From
of guys
that one animation
from
classroom.
A113,
Yeah.
which is a lot where Lucasfilm also was born, and like
Yeah.
Pixar as well. A lot of these references are made in the Star Wars and Disney films. But yeah, all these kids just come out of that. Well, kids, they're all way older than us, but like they just came out of this thing, super fresh. There was no establishing point for anything. Like they knew of cartoons and they loved animation, but they just went wild, came up with the most bizarre ideas that they had while they were demoing. A lot of them were like that, almost like their dissertation stuff in college, which they then just took and
Which they-
made
yeah.
into cartoons.
That was
man,
the
which is
case with
amazing.
a lot of the things that became shows eventually. I think
Yeah.
Powerpuff Girls was one of those
Yeah,
as well.
definitely, yeah,
I
yeah.
think with this era especially, what we noticed was up till this point, cartoon makers were using film as a reference and kind
Yeah.
of going like, well, let's do what film can't do.
Yeah.
And this era onwards, these were guys who didn't just grow up on film, they grew up on the older cartoons.
Cartoons, yeah,
And
very
they said,
true.
well, let's do what those cartoons didn't do. So let's get meta, let's make fun of our own
And
tropes.
also, I mean, it became very, it became kind of zany, like even more
Yeah.
zany. Like it like Looney Tunes obviously is just like that kind of slapstick humor, but the humor was far more intellectual. I think they started referencing things. I mean, one of my favorite episodes was the Beatles episode from the Powerpuff Girls, where they literally in a 11-minute episode they packed like almost every single sentence and visual like frame with
Was a Beatles
it's
reference,
chock full
yeah.
of Beatles reference. It was called the Beat Alls, I think that was the name
Yeah.
of the episode. Yeah, good episode. But yeah, we spoke a lot about Powerpuff Girls in that episode. Another show which we have kind of spoken about very briefly was, have you done anything on not Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Lab and Johnny Bravo? Have we done anything on that?
I don't think so. We
Yeah.
did do a
I
lot
feel like
on
that is
Samurai
like-
Jack when they closed out the
Yeah.
thingy,
Oh my
which-
god. I mean,
that's the greatest. It's one of the best shows
one of the-
ever.
yeah, just
It
straight up,
had a
not even
great run.
animation, just
Yeah.
overall one of the best shows.
It's a great show in the world.
Yeah,
Anyway, so
in
go
the
check
world
out
of
our previous
shows.
episode on it and go check out Samurai Jack if you haven't.
Yeah, and start from season 1, finish off at season
Yeah,
5.
but
yeah.
let's talk Dexter's Lab and Johnny Bravo.
Classic, man.
Solid shows.
Do you think it suffered from Dexter's Lab being the boys' show and Powerpuff Girls being the girls' show? I don't know. I just watched everything. Though.
Yeah, I watched everything as
but
well.
it felt,
but there was
the
a
vibe,
definite,
right? There was
yeah.
a audience skewing happening,
Which
over
is
there.
a shame because I think Powerpuff Girls was the overall smarter and kind of cooler show.
I
And
think
the
Powerpuff
more-
Girls was definitely the more progressive show.
Yeah, definitely.
It had a lot of like thought put into what they were just trying to say with their characters. I mean, like it's literally 3 small girls saving the world from
Yeah.
like the last people you would entrust saving the world with, which is three
Three
kindergarten
little girls, yeah.
girls. Like it's just bizarre, but they just made that and now I can't. Like if you say like there's three girls are going to say the girl, I was like, yeah, okay, cool, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
obviously.
Yeah,
What else would they do?
Yeah.
Dexter's Lab, oddly enough, was kind of the same thing, right? Like a preschooler who's a super genius,
I think
and his parents have no
they were
idea.
just were they just playing on the fact that, hey, what do kids really want to see happen to them? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
it was kind of like that. I mean, the
Were
Flintstones
these
was like this.
creators feeling like that themselves, where they, as children growing up, they were like, we are such smart, precocious geniuses, and nobody gets it.
And that's true, and they made that a reality for themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, like, when you look at shows like Jetsons and the Flintstones, these are shows that, you know, kind of dealt with suburban life, but from the perspective of the parents, right?
Yeah.
And now suddenly we got to see this whole suburban lifestyle, but from the perspective of the children. Like,
Yeah.
a classic example of this is Ed, and Eddy, which is that exact, you know, that, quintessential cul-de-sac kind of, neighborhood
Yes.
where, like, there's just a bunch of you know how kids are, just every kid is so weird and has a bizarre personality, and they kind of etch that out really well in these kind of shows, and all of them were the suburban USA kind of show. I mean, this is something we
Yeah.
spoke about in the previous episode as well, but like,
But this was the
Powerpuff
modern
Girls,
suburbs.
yeah, even Powerpuff Girls, even though they saved the day in Townsville, in the city of Townsville, they didn't live in Townsville, they kind
Yeah.
of lived outside it. They were in the Lavle.
The lovely of
And then
Townsville.
the Navi Mumbai
Yeah.
if Sobo was being attacked, they would be living in Navi Mumbai.
Listen, tell me about Ed, and Eddy.
Yeah.
Because, okay, Dexter's Laboratory, anything else to say? It was a great show.
It was a fantastic show. Let's talk about any of your which is the one episode that stands out for you. It may not be the best episode, but which is the one that you remember?
That stands out, I
yeah.
think, in everyone's mind is
Omelette du fromage, obviously.
Yeah,
Yes.
no question about it. Why,
It's so weird. It's so weird that you say that. It's because like the episode is exactly about that.
Yeah.
That they say the word. The story is very simple. He tries to learn French overnight because he wants to be good at French or something, and he puts this machine on at night to
A
kind of
tape
feed
that,
the words
yeah.
into his brain, and it gets stuck. And the only
On
word.
one phrase, omelette du fromage, which
It
is
is
a
so
cheese
genius,
omelette.
man.
Yeah.
It is so genius.
And then that's all he can say to anyone ever.
And that's
in
exactly what
varying tones.
Didi says. So he wins the day. Like, all the
Yeah.
girls fall for him because he can say omelette du
Yeah.
fromage.
And they're
And he
like, "Oh
nails
my
the
God,
test.
Dexter."
The test has one question, which is, how do you say cheese omelette in French? And he says omelette du fromage. And the last thing in the episode, which is kind of dark and weird, which is that he wants to get back into the lab, and the lab says password, and he
And
can
he
only
keeps
say
saying
omelette du fromage.
Yeah.
And then Didi, and the lab basically self-destructs because of the password system, and Didi's just running around him while the
Yeah,
thing is up in
everything
flames. And he's like,
explodes.
that's all you can say. That's all you can say. That's all she says.
Oh, freaking Didi.
Oh my gosh. Dude, what iconic characters, man. Mandark as well.
Mandark as well, yeah.
So good.
And Dexter, I think Didi and Mandark were the more fun characters. Dexter was cool.
Dexter
but-
is, I mean, yeah, he's a cool kid. I mean, like, they split the episodes into where Dexter's either being like the real heroic kid and saving his family and saving Didi and all that stuff,
Yeah.
or he's like the lamest duck of them
Yeah.
all, and Didi's like really cool. One of my favorite episodes was the D&D episode. I think that's the one that comes
Yeah, I
to mind.
remember this one.
So basically, they're playing Dungeons and Dragons with his friends, and Didi wants to play with them, and he's like, no, Didi, I can't play and all this stuff. And then all his friends who kind of, I think, have a thing for her, they're just
Yeah.
like, no, you can
Mandark
be
especially.
Yeah, Mandark for sure, obviously. But
Yeah.
like in this, I think it's just like a couple of his friends, and they say you can be the dungeon master. So basically, the game master and stuff. And she makes like the most bizarre storyline, and like you see it from the perspective of what they would be in Dungeons and Dragons. It's pretty funny, man. Like I really, really enjoyed that.
Nice.
Episode. They did a lot of cool
I feel
things,
like
man.
I've seen it, but I don't remember it too well.
Yeah.
Do you think Omelette du fromage invented the one-line character gimmick? Like I am Groot?
Wow, I didn't think
Maybe,
about
huh?
that. Yeah, possible.
Or
yeah.
like an Iron Giant?
Well, so I guess Pikachu kind of nailed it, right? Because like
he only screams his own name?
Yeah, but only
Yeah.
Pokemon can only speak in can
their
only
own
their
name,
own
yeah.
names, or have Ryan Reynolds voice them.
Do you think there should be a Pokemon called Omelette du fromage?
But you know what? Pikachu kind of looks like one, so it's fine.
Yeah, that's true.
But
He looks like a
but
fromage
sorry,
omelette.
if we may,
Uh-huh.
Pokemon also came out in this time, and Ryan Reynolds is voicing Pikachu in Detective Pokemon.
Yeah.
What the hell is
I
that?
have no idea.
I love it. I
So
think
it's
it's
Pikachu
so bizarre.
being a detective.
Yep.
Does Pikachu ever talk in anything?
No, in fact, this is so funny. Just very recently, a new Pokemon movie was out in theaters, and the whole movie went by.
Yeah.
And there's one moment where Pikachu is kind of defeated, and Ash goes up to him and says, "Pikachu, are you okay?" And Pikachu speaks and says, "I just didn't want to disappoint you. And there's clips from the theater
No way.
where people are like, what? Everyone's like up in arms, people just standing up with their hands on their heads. It's hilarious. It's so funny.
This is like when we were talking about how Tom and Jerry start talking suddenly one day.
Yeah, I'm sure people at home were just like, what am I watching?
Do you think he'll have like a droll British accent when he eventually speaks as
Pikachu?
Detective Pokemon? Yeah. Like a Benedict Cumberbatch-ish accent.
I suppose
that
he's
Ryan
gonna-
Reynolds affects.
It's going to be very what Bradley Cooper was to Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be like Rocket Raccoon is supposed to be have a Scottish accent in the comics.
Yeah, but he pretty much
played
does it as
a Bostonian kind of guy. But
Mama.
which is fine. I'm okay
Yeah,
with
it's
it.
fine.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be something.
Ryan
like
Reynolds putting his fingers into one more universe.
that. Yeah.
Good for him, man.
I mean, I guess what else does he have?
He's cool.
Yeah,
He's cool.
I'm okay with him, to be honest. I'm not.
I
I like him, but I think he tries too hard. I think.
Is he the Ed and Eddy of Hollywood? Because that's how I feel about him. Like, he's kind of brash. He's in your face. And
I
I'm
really
like,
love
I get
Ed
it.
and Eddy.
I
though.
don't know. I could never stand it. I don't know why. I've mentioned this before.
You've mentioned that you never liked the gross cartoons, which was
Yeah.
Ed and Eddy, Cow and
Chicken,
Chicken,
IR Baboon.
Yeah,
I just didn't get it.
I loved all of them. They were
Yeesh.
so silly, man. They were
I
so
think
silly.
just the style of animation put me off in the first place. What is
But
Ed and
you know,
Eddy about?
It's like I said.
They
It's just about
whistle.
it's about three kids who always trying to make a quick buck from their friends.
Which is Ed, Double D, and Eddy.
And Eddie, yeah,
Right.
like gravy. Yeah, that's basically it. So yeah, I mean, and I think a lot of what these cartoons were just like, let's just do whatever the we want,
Pretty much.
and let's just make stories about like what we like and stuff. And I think they resonated really well because these shows. I remember when Ed and Eddy kind of had its first teaser saying, "Hey, new show coming out, Ed and Eddy," and now it's
With
like
that
lore.
whistling theme song,
Yeah,
which was
yeah.
always so great.
Yeah.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah, exactly. It's great show. I really loved it. I loved all of them. I think Cartoon Network really did something different. Yeah, obviously we all preferred Dexter's Lab and Powerpuff Girls and stuff. But yeah.
Let me step out of Cartoon Network for a second.
Or let us step out completely,
Okay.
take a short break,
And come back.
come
Yeah,
back,
alright, cool.
and read a mail from
cool,
Emil.
The segment's back.
Yes.
Hi, I'm May, and I'm a huge fan of the indie music scene in our country. A scene that's relatively underground, even though it sometimes speaks its head overground. But there's no shortage of talent, and I get the privilege of interviewing some of the most awesome musicians on my show. I've had the likes of Euphoria, Krish Kale, Hardcore, Randolph Correa. I've had singer-songwriters, folk singers, electronic music producers, playback singers, rappers, fusion artists, instrumentalists, classical musicians, and so on. Whether mainstream or not, these people have chosen to release their original music, and these are the people currently shaping the direction in which our music scene is heading. Join me on my show every Monday and tune in to discover the unique talent coming out of India today. You can catch Made in India on your favorite podcasting app or our very own IVM podcast app.
All right, we're back. We're talking about cartoons from the modern era of cartoon making and cartoons. Yeah. So that includes a lot of Cartoon
We're
Network stuff.
cartoon
which we just-
scientists is what we are.
Yeah. We are.
Yeah, in a sense.
We're cartoon scientists. I think that's the poster for this episode. All right. So we spoke about Cartoon Network, and obviously it formed a big part of all the cartoon viewing that we watched. I mean, it also had things like Toonami, SWAT
Yeah.
Cats and stuff, which we spoke about in our previous episode because I think kind of blurred the line between 90s and 2000s.
We're imprecise cartoon scientists.
Yes, we're not. We're
We have
not
a couple
super
more in the
accurate.
modern era from the What a Cartoon Show era of Cartoon Network that I think we should
Okay,
talk about.
list them
but
off
we'll
quickly.
come back to that.
And then I can just read out Emil's mail.
Okay, cool.
So Emil is, for those of you who don't know, I don't know where you've been, but Emil is like almost the fifth Beatle. Like
Yeah.
he's kind of been with us from the beginning. He writes to us regularly, and this is his mail this week. Hey, hello gents, really enjoyed listening and reminiscing on episode 108 as you guys took me on a roller coaster ride through some great classics we enjoyed watching as kids. Unfortunately, when I was in India, I stopped watching shows on Cartoon Network once they began showing Dexter's Lab and SWAT Cats in
In
Hindi.
Hindi.
I was so gutted, but later on I was able to rewatch these shows in English. Do you think we will ever get to a point where brand new shows will be able to reach the height that shows like Spider-Man, Captain Planet, Thundercats and many other reached during the golden era of cartoons? What he at least believes was the golden era. I think we can say the golden era or the golden age was the Hanna-Barbera.
Yes.
Silver age is like
Is the early 90s.
early
the
90s,
mid-90s.
mid-90s or mid-80s, 90s. Then we get to we'll skip the Bronze Age and go into the the modern age, which is what we watched, like,
Yeah.
you know, Dexter's Lab and stuff. And now I think we're in the heroic age.
We're in a renaissance.
Yeah, I want to say that. We're going to get to cartoons that are airing at this very moment,
Yeah.
or at least in the last 10 years. So
I feel like we have a couple of interesting things to say to Amil.
definitely.
About this one.
So, yeah.
You'll enjoy this, Amil.
You can make a meal out of this episode. Okay.
Oh,
All right.
no.
So we there was another parallel programming kind of going on with Disney Channel and stuff and Nickelodeon. So there are a bunch of other cartoons that that apart from Cartoon Network, which kind of makes a big part of all of this. But there was a lot of really good stuff happening on other channels. What else did you watch apart from Cartoon Network?
I don't know. What else? What was going on Nickelodeon at the time?
So Nickelodeon obviously had things like, Cat Dog,
Right.
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob was around
Yeah.
then. The
Was
whole-
it- is it
SpongeBob
90s
was a little.
more? Like-
SpongeBob was late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean the Tom Kenny era. I mean, like, really,
Yeah.
this man has been like in almost every notable kind of cartoon as some voice or the other.
Yeah.
But yeah, SpongeBob. I think I was never really much into Nickelodeon. The only things I really
Neither
watched
was I, yeah.
was Legend of the Hidden Temple. That kind of stuff.
course.
But yeah, man, I think the other stuff that I used to watch was on Disney, man, and Disney had like a bunch of really nice shows.
Darkwing Duck was around this era.
Yeah, Darkwing Duck. I think a little later on they had things like, I don't know if you ever watched PB&J on.
No, what
Did
is
you
that
ever watch?
now?
These are all like a bunch of kids cartoons that we used to watch when we didn't have Cartoon Network to watch. We'd watch these shows. But obviously
Yeah,
the
they
other
were
thing,
always the second option, right? That's why Cartoon Network was such a force in this era, because the
Yeah.
others were almost
well,
negligible.
peripheral kind of stuff.
I
yeah.
feel like PB&J sounds familiar, but
PB&J
maybe I'm
auto,
just thinking
yes.
about Peanut Butter and Jelly.
Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, the new series. Love
Yes,
that.
which
I'm a huge
it was
Winnie the Pooh
great.
fan.
Winnie the
I mean,
Pooh is
I
the best.
exclusively.
And they were pretty much direct adaptations of the stories.
Yeah, and
which
I
are just such great
exclusively
stories.
sleep on Winnie the Pooh sheets.
Nice.
Yeah.
Exclusively?
Yeah, exclusively.
You have a series
Okay,
of Winnie the Pooh
I have
sheets that
three.
you-
I have 3 sets, and my 4th set of sheets, which is my Civil War sheets, which is Iron Man and Captain America
Nice.
on them. I think like socks and undergarments, the sheets that you use should be kind of wacky because it keeps you young.
True.
I think so. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. But let us talk about some other shows that you had in mind, like Arthur is something
Arthur
that you. Yeah.
is a great show.
Tell us about Arthur.
So Arthur is it's a show about a bunch of anthropomorphic animals who live in a little town and go to school. Arthur
Right.
himself.
Correct. What are they? What are they?
So there are all kinds of animals. So Arthur himself is an aardvark. Though you'd never guess it because you look at him and you think that's a mouse.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
He is the
But
the
he's
first
not a mouse.
the first thing in the dictionary.
In the dictionary. I
Yeah.
want to say he's an aardvark or he's some weird animal like that. But he's not a mouse, even though he looks like a mouse. And Arthur is basically a collection of shorts and whatnot dealing with Arthur, his sister DW, his best friend Buster, who's a rabbit.
So
and,
give us the now, since I'm not well acquainted, give us the typical episode brief,
the
like a log
typical
line.
episode would be something along the lines of DW is making a racket, so she breaks something. Arthur blames her, and then they have a fight. Buster steps in. He's like the goofy kid who is Arthur's best friend. He's the Ron Weasley of the bunch. And then the parents step in, and Arthur learns a lesson at the end of it. And him and his sister.
So you'd
realize
say
they love
it had
each other.
it had a nice message at the end.
It
of
had a great message. It was a PBS show. Which is why it was pretty
PBS is
educational
great.
as well.
Oh
PBS
man,
is so good.
we should do another episode on like Sesame Street and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is like I still kind of
The
watch.
theme song, yeah, it's very Sesame Street in its vibe, except a little more postmodern. Like I remember they had a Harry Potter episode and stuff.
Oh wow,
where-
really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
that's pretty cool.
Did
and
you
it has a
ever
great
watch-
theme song, which Chance the Rapper just covered.
What?
Yeah, like last year, I think.
Oh man, Chance the Rapper sounds like a
The
Sesame
original
Street
theme
character.
song was by one of the Marleys, not Damien,
Ziggy.
not Ziggy.
I think I've seen both of them live.
One
now.
of the 60-something Marleys.
Okay.
It was one of them. There was one Arthur episode that had Joshua Redman and Yo-Yo Ma do a collaboration. They were playing themselves. They were visiting Arthur's school. And so there's an entire episode about the two of them figuring out how to collaborate. And then they do a cello and jazz sax performance.
Oh my god.
It's a weird show.
So, very educational and also kind of like really cultured.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Disney had a bunch of really good shows. The ones that you were mentioning that you could not remember. Kim Possible.
All right.
Classic.
Solid show.
Very good show.
Very
and
nice.
just about Kim doing
Impossible
things, making the impossible possible.
Was there not a movie also?
There was a movie.
Yeah.
One of my favorite shows from Disney Channel, though, which really kind of sticks out in my memory, is Recess. I don't know if you ever saw Recess.
No, I don't think so.
So Recess was this amazing show about like these 5 kids who basically all they do is live for recess, right? Like they're always trying to scam the teachers to get out of class and get out
get
of
recess.
And they had a bunch of really cool archetype characters. There was like the main guy whose name is TJ. He was like he's the Chris of that show. There was like Spinelli, who was like the tomboyish kind of girl, who's like super hard as nails kind of thing. And then there was a geek, there was the fat kid. Like they kind of covered a bunch of like the stereotypes, but like made them all kind of integrate.
Yeah.
And it was cool.
The archetypes, we should say, because they're not mean stereotypes.
Yeah. No, they're not mean stereotypes. But and they would like go on like different adventures, and then they added more like really cool diversity kind of. It was diversity focused. There was a kid whose name was Gus, who used to be in an army school, and his parents are like vets or something like that. And so he had like this army background. He would always have like a crop kind of hair, kind of scene going on. I think they added an Indian kid later on. It was like it was really cool. Yeah,
nice,
really really smart.
This reminds me of a show that I'd forgotten about until I saw its name in the list I was looking at just now. Codename Kids Next Door.
Oh my gosh,
a very similar concept, right?
I mean, well,
a bunch of archetypes who.
But these kids were getting into kids shenanigans. That one was like literally these kids
they were saving the world.
Saving the world. One number at a time. Man, can you just rattle off? There was number 1, obviously, who was
he was the
cool guy.
Kid.
Was he bald?
He was bald with like 3 hairs.
He kind of looked like Stewie.
Yeah. Maybe he's the base of Stewie. I felt he was kind of like Charlie Brown in that he had like 1 head.
Yeah, 2 or 3 hairs.
Yeah, there's a weird one. Then there was that girl who's like his second in command.
Was she number 3?
She
2?
might have been number 3 or 2.
I can't remember who these guys. There was an Australian kid who was also.
Yes.
It's all coming back to me.
This is such a weird show.
Yeah. Good stuff, man.
Yeah, good stuff.
really good stuff. Okay, so let us move on to. Are we covering the Fun Channel shows, or like basically the WB stuff, which is like Justice League Unlimited, Static Shock? Oh my God, so many.
I
good
feel
shows.
like
that's another.
Yeah, that's a whole thing by itself. But they kind of they flow into what we discussed in the previous episode. They were the action cartoons of their time.
Yeah, the action ones. I think that's what WB had really going for it. Because they did that. They did. Static Shock was cool, and the Zeta Project. They would have like shows that crossed over into
all
other
kind
shows.
Of action, that's weird.
Yeah, like they had Static Shock, which was like Static Shock as a kid, and then I remember in Batman Beyond, in one of the episodes, it was in Batman the animated series. They go into the future and they meet Batman Beyond,
right?
And Static Shock is also there.
Yes,
and he's old now. It's like weird. It was so awesome to see all of that happen. That was really really cool. So.
I'll tell you one WB show that is not an action cartoon, now that I remember it. Animaniacs.
Classic.
What a good show.
Spielberg, Geffen, Katzenberg. Yeah, it was a DreamWorks show.
Can you believe that, the DreamWorks guys came together to make Animaniacs, which is such a weird concept to start with.
They did Freakazoid. I don't know if you remember Freakazoid.
Yes.
Amazing show.
Was not Pinky in the Brain also
Pinky in the Brain also, yeah. All these shows as well kind of form. And I really love...
so many cartoons,
Yeah,
dude.
man, there are too many cartoons. One of my favorites was Freakazoid because, I think all 3 of these DreamWorks shows kind of had a bunch of like cameos from like people. Again, like they had a really rich like a guest star kind of thing, and they used to have.
Because there are like Hollywood heavyweights who can
exactly.
pull in anybody.
And Spielberg himself was in one of these shows and stuff. It was insane. Yeah, it was really
isn't he in Animaniacs a bunch?
He's in Animaniacs. He's in Freakazoid as well. Yeah, really really funny kind of.
Animaniacs, by the way, for in case our listeners haven't seen it, is about 3 animals of some kind. They're kind of cats, I want to say.
Yeah.
But they're the Warner Brothers
and sister.
Yeah,
the Warner Brothers and sister.
Who live in the water tower on the Warner Brothers studio lot. So it's already so weirdly meta.
It's so meta.
I don't know how they'd expect kids to get it.
Across the world. In America, I think Warner Brothers is such a huge property that, that it makes sense. And the water
Maybe.
tower is now iconic. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
it
even
was their logo for the longest time.
yeah, and their music publishing is called Water Tower Music now.
Yeah.
And so I think it's pretty iconic in the States, and it's something like you dream of. You know, Hollywood is so larger than life
Yeah.
now. I mean, it's permeated itself into our subconscious. You know, like we know so much about it because
Yeah.
it's so, you know,
Because we
Ridiculous.
directly injected these cartoons into our brains.
literally, man, shit, man. We watched so much of
Wasn't
this.
Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries also part of WB?
Yeah, I think so. I think at
Yeah.
some point they kind of grafted onto that slate. But
The Detective Pikachu of its era.
oh my gosh,
Where they
yeah.
took two characters who
And
didn't
the
even speak.
and the granny, right?
Yeah, and the granny.
Yeah, that's
so
she
they
was the
took
granny.
two characters who didn't speak at all and turned them into a crime-fighting team.
Weird
along
murder
with
she
the
wrote
grandma.
kind of vibe. So bizarre. That grandma, man.
She was
So weird. So weird. All right, cool. So I want to move forward now because we have the final era, which is the one which we are currently living in, which
Yeah.
I'm saying is from 2010 till 2018. So this last decade-ish has had some criticism, I'd say, from a
Yeah.
lot of people. Because I think all the people who grew up watching the very cartoons that we've been speaking about have kind of come into this era and gone like, what, man, cartoons suck. Oh my god.
Why?
Yeah, a lot of people are like, cartoons are not what they used to be. This is the air that is out there. Like, this is what is on Reddit, this is what's on like everybody's minds. Because I think two things. One, people have stopped watching cartoons, right? They watch a lot of the reruns of the old stuff for nostalgia purposes, which is actually really how this episode is
of
born.
a certain age, yes.
Our age, man.
Our age.
Yeah, the people who stopped watching cartoons after a certain age, like after like say 15 to 20, whatever, now they just remember in retrospect and go like, those cartoons were the shit. That was the best kind of cartoon
I
that
mean,
used to
you're
exist.
looking at you're doing that thing where you look at the past with rose-colored
Of course.
glasses.
No, but those were, in this case, they were transparent. Because those cartoons are actually as good as we remember them to be.
They are.
In fact, they even in retrospect, if you go and watch them now, which we have done to kind of do these episodes, they still shine so bright and they're so funny. And in fact, we get so much more out of them because
Now
we're
we get a
adults.
lot of things that we didn't get before.
A lot of references that we didn't really understand. I mean,
Yeah.
like when we were kids, we couldn't get any of the Clark Gable references or
That's
anything from
true.
the Looney Tunes. You know, like where Bugs Bunny's
the jokes they throw in for themselves.
for at least for the time that they were in. You know,
in the
like
case of WB, yeah.
yeah, exactly. But like now we get a lot of that. I mean, we and just generally those shows were really, really, really fantastically written and really so smart. So when we come to this era, people haven't really watched the shows, I think. And I think there are
Yeah.
lots of really, really good shows. In fact, some of my all-time favorite shows have been
From this era,
From
right?
this era, from the card
Yeah.
era. Because, you know, they're just... I think these are the kids who are definitely us now, who are now
Yeah.
making, like how we go to work and do this for a living, that's what they do for a living. So
Except they make the cartoons.
yeah, they make the cartoons.
Yeah.
And like the cartoons are speaking exactly about things that we know and, you know, we grew up watching and things like that. I'd even say the Cartoon Network era was slightly before us because while we were in school, they were in their, 20s and 30s making these shows. But now they are literally our age and making these shows. So I think there's a lot more resonance I find in these cartoons than I can with the previous ones.
So let's take a break and get into them.
Yep.
Shunyawan, 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 Shunyawan.
$1 billion acquisition. Another copycat startup got formed.
No, the tech world in India is surely moving double the speed of this voiceover.
Tune in to Shunya One every Tuesday to catch us talking to the smartest people we know on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
So, Dinkar and I have just decided that these 3 episodes are just a starter kit for what will be a long and prosperous future of talking about animated shows. Because I just feel like there's so many shows out there and we just kind of glaze over them because we're trying to kind of talk about how animation has been throughout the ages and stuff like that. But I think this is a great kind of jumping off point for maybe future more specific episodes. Like something we were just talking about was the greatest show of all time of our era, which is BoJack Horseman.
Yeah.
We've done
No
an
question about it.
We've done an episode about it. I mean, I wish I was there. But you guys covered it after season 3 got over? Season
Yes,
4?
after the previous season, which was season 3, right?
Season 3,
Or
yeah.
season 4, yeah.
I mean, it's such a wonderfully dark but beautiful show But I think it forms a part of, a very like adult animation. You know,
Yes,
like
which is a whole thing by itself.
what are the other shows which you think that would come under that
say
gamut?
Family Guy.
Family Guy is
Family
kind of,
Guy, by the way,
Yeah.
was also piloted on What a Cartoon Show.
Yeah, yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
I don't remember ever watching it.
I've seen it. It was called something else. Was it called Family Guy?
I doubt it because
And it was
yeah.
it was Brian but not Peter. It was somebody like an old dude who kind of had Peter's voice but not.
and it would have been a PG version of it.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, but it was still funny. It was
Some
still
of
good
the
then.
biggest cartoons of our era have been adult cartoons, if you think about it.
Yeah.
So there is Family Guy, of course,
Yeah.
which I will count as adult just
Yeah.
because it like
It's like Simpsons, I suppose. Yeah.
Simpsons is still a lot more PG. Family Guy, I think,
But the
veers towards
references and
PG-13.
the references and the humor is very adult humor, man.
Yeah, in Simpsons, yeah, but I think a kid could also see Simpsons and enjoy.
I mean, we did when we were growing
did,
up.
yeah.
It's
Though a
been
lot of
around
it
long
might have
enough
gone
for
over our
us to
heads.
be kids and adults.
Cool.
while
So
watching
Simpsons count as an adultish cartoon or
Yeah.
a more mature cartoon than
Definitely.
usual. Family Guy for sure because they ripped off the Simpsons for all their lives.
it. Yeah, BoJack Horseman.
BoJack
obviously.
Horseman, of course. South Park. in a
South
lot of
Park,
ways.
100% because that's just like that's
that's
like
just
an 18
like-
plus kind of
yeah.
show. And the other ones which I can think of, I guess.
King of the Hill.
King of the Hill.
American Dad.
American Dad.
The
also
entire like Seth MacFarlane animated range, really.
the Cleveland show.
The Cleveland spin-off of a Family Guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were all adult.
Yeah, those definitely kind of fall in that. What is the new one that is out on Big Mouth on Netflix?
Big Mouth is an adult show, though it's
kind of
about
adult, yeah.
like puberty
Yeah.
and teenagers.
Yeah, but
it's a solid show.
Yeah, great show. F is for Family, which is a show by Bill Burr.
Yeah.
I really love Bill Burr. I love him because I don't really agree with what he has to say sometimes, but actually a lot of the times.
Yeah.
But the way he's so emphatic and he's just so like,
He's like
I don't
an
give a shit. This is a-
unapologetic jackass.
Yeah, it's like
Which
you
I
know,
like, yeah.
Yeah, he used to be like, I think he used to be like a Republican, have those kind of like really rightist views and stuff, and then like he just realized, wait, this is all nonsense. And he's like, then he became kind of like this leftist guy. Then he was like, wait, this is all bullshit. and then now he's
now
just
he
like,
just- he hates everything.
He just hates everything and everyone. I love him. He's brilliant. So and that's his show. So it has a lot of his kind of again that suburban lifestyle kind of show. Nice man, I dig it.
Again, yeah, like an adultish thing.
Yeah.
So what we were considering is treat adult cartoons as their own thing.
And maybe we'll
And
do an
another
episode
episode.
specifically about it.
In this, it was initially a 2-part series, but now infinite part
Yeah.
series. What a
Infinite.
Cartoon episode 5 perhaps will be
Yeah.
about adult cartoons.
Right now we're on 3, right?
Right now we're on 3.
Yeah, we still have to get through anime.
3 of N.
Yeah, oh my gosh. We should do an anthology, like literally alphabetically, A, B, C,
Yeah.
D as well. Alright, cool. We're going to talk about shows which were meant for kids,
Children's shows of today's era.
but though you can still watch them and have a great time.
Yeah.
A lot of them are on Cartoon Network, and I really love them. A show that really kind of got me into this era of animation was Adventure Time, which is still one of my favorite shows of all time, and for a number of reasons. I mean, when you kind of get into Adventure Time, I mean, you literally see this whole thing about it being set in a weird candy land.
Yeah.
It's basically what people thought was an acid trip by the creator Pendleton Ward, who's again another CalArts student who just made this thing in college, and then like a lot of people saw it and they were like, oh, they live in a candy kingdom, and it's just about this guy named Finn and his dog, his shape-shifting dog named Jake, who can also
Yeah.
speak, voiced by the amazing John DiMaggio. And it's just like when you first impression, it's just a weird, tripped out kind of cartoon where nonsense is happening. But as you kind of, it ended now in its 9th season, right?
Yeah.
And it's basically a show which has a very rich mythological history, and it's like
yeah, it's kind
established
of
itself-
complicated in a
It's
way.
very complicated. Over the years, it has established itself as one of the most nuanced and amazingly written shows, which takes on really dark themes. At the same time, can be zany, can be anything. It literally made its own universe and
Yeah.
has space-time thing. I told you, like, I don't know if I remember telling you this, one of the best time travel things I've ever seen in my life
It's
is
from
an
Adventure Time?
11-minute episode from Adventure Time, which will just blow
I
your
haven't seen
socks
this.
off. Oh my god. I mean, you need to know a lot of the characters before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do I explain? Okay, I'm going to try in 1 minute to explain what
It's,
Adventure Time
okay.
is. Okay,
That's a tough one, but go for it.
so notwithstanding the premise, which is about Jake the dog and Finn the human. Okay, so the show is basically set in a post-apocalyptic world where humans kind of destroyed everything, and because the Earth has basically, it's now no longer called Earth. It's called OO. Okay, like 3 O's, OO. And there was a radioactive kind of explosion, which has got to do with a bunch of characters which you see as regular characters. I don't know if you know the Ice King in this show.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so basically there's this really tragic character. So he was originally in the first season of like a villainous kind of character who's always trying to kidnap Princess Bubblegum, and Jake the dog and the human will go and save. That's the show. Okay,
Yeah.
Jake the dog and the human save Princess Bubblegum from the Ice King, and that's what you thought the show is about. But then you realize that the Ice King was this really kind of sad character who was a scientist who found this mythical artifact, became crazy, lost his lover, and because of that, he can't remember who he is. It's a tragic story.
But he's actually Jon Snow, right?
It's really, really sad, actually, man. And they kind of over time do flashback episodes, and together you can piece together the continuity of the show, the timeline of the show, and it's tragic. And it's just like there's a hole in the earth, right? Like which is a big chunk of the earth is missing whenever they zoom out and show.
Yeah.
Ooh. And then you realize that's because of a nuclear device that then kind of mutated things, and that's how the Candy Kingdom came about. And it's weird, and it's just amazing, and it's just best show ever.
I've always dipped in and out of Adventure Time, and it works great as a standalone.
Yeah.
Like, you could watch any episode and it's great as well.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was like this much darkness
my
going
gosh.
on in their long-running story.
And there's an Adventure Time movie that is going to come out. I think it's coming out this year to kind of cap it all
I think
off.
I'm going to try and watch in sequence.
Yeah,
running
try
up
and
to the
watch it
movie.
because it is one of the richest shows
And
I've seen ever.
it's such a... There's this very joyous feeling always
Yeah.
in Adventure Time, which
Yeah.
you wouldn't think would have such a dark backstory.
One of the joyous things about it is Finn. Okay, so he's voiced by this guy named Jeremy Shada, who literally started voicing the character when he was 13. And Finn ages as Jeremy ages in life.
Right.
So every year he grows older and older and older, and his voice has broken and has become like, and now he speaks like us, like what we speak like. But when he started the show, he was like this baby, and now you can see that he's kind of aged.
Nice.
And it's awesome.
That's
it's one of the
amazing.
greatest
It's like
shows
Boyhood.
ever. It really is like
Another amazing thing about Adventure Time
Yeah.
is the companion comic series, which is completely separate standalone stories.
Yeah.
One of the best comics around right now. Written, I think it's ended its run now. Written
Yeah.
by Ryan North,
Right,
who
yeah,
currently
correct,
does The
yes.
Unbeatable Squirrel Girl.
Correct.
And who started out with dinosaur comics on the web.
Oh, man,
Like,
awesome.
again, one of my favorite guys.
Yeah.
And he's the perfect guy to write Adventure Time. Like
Yeah.
another super positive, great guy.
Yeah, man.
So yeah.
Dude, it's just, if you haven't seen Adventure Time, I'd suggest start. I mean, it's very long. Now I think it's in its 9th
10th
season.
season? 9th
No,
season.
I think it's over. Yeah, it is over. And it's, if you
Is
just
it
start
because
from
Finn is now an adult and they're like, you're done.
Yeah, I mean, now Finn, the Jeremy Shada now, he has a band called Make Out Monday, which I follow him on Instagram, yeah.
Nice.
And he's also on Voltron, which is a series which is on Netflix right now. So, so he's kind of joined that illustrious community of voice actors.
Nice.
And everybody knows him. And Mark Hamill, everybody knows him, and he's and everybody's been on Adventure Time as well, Kumail Nanjiani voices,
Yes.
basically this guy, what's his name called? I can't remember right now, but he voices the cosmic element. I can't even explain it. It's just, there's too much happening in this show.
Okay, everyone watch Adventure Time.
Yeah.
And come back after 9 years.
Yeah, and I think Adventure Time kind of laid the groundwork for what I think is the most, which is the most identifiable thing about cartoons today, is that the voice acting, if you see it over time, right? Mel Blanc making different voices, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just coming up with different things and ideas and kind of spinning off real life characters. That was the main thing about that original era. In the 80s, 90s, and now, it was action. So everyone's manly voice or this voice. And the thing about cartoons today, which I find is the most striking element about it, is that everybody speaks like how they speak in real life.
Yeah.
The thing, if we were, this is how characters would speak right now, you and I, on shows like Regular Show.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I found. Regular Show is the show which I've been trying to get into for a really long time. Which again, Mark Hamill is part of the main cast for the last 8 years.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't know much about Regular Show. Explain it to us.
So Regular Show is this awesome nonsense. It's actually, the full name is Regular Show in Space. Okay, so it's basically a show about two slackers who are these park rangers. They basically kind of are, one is a blue jay whose name is Mordecai, and the other one's a squirrel named Rigby. And
What?
they're basically best friends, and they're supposed to take care of this park, but they are big slackers and they don't want to work. And that's the whole show. Now, the show starts from a very mundane
It's like
setting.
all the characters in Yogi Bear mashed into two.
Yeah, it's a very mundane setting, right? Like they have to
Yeah.
take care of a park, but every episode almost eventually ends up in like space.
What?
Yeah, it is so bizarre. So the very first episode of regular show is how they break a hole in the wall of their room, and they're like, "Damn, we have to fix this." So how do we fix this? They was like, "Okay, cool. We have to convince our boss to give us raises." And how do we do that? And so one of the ideas
What?
is they have a synth. Okay. It's a synth. And like they put it down and they're just like, okay, cool. This is how we're going to convince him. And so they play a tune and they do a coordinated dance and they're like, yo, you have to give us raises. And every person they try this on almost immediately like submits to what they have to say.
What?
And gives them whatever they want. So they tried on the other park ranger, like the owner, who's this big guy with a round head. Like there's no explanation for anything. His name is Pops, okay?
Yeah.
And the other guy is a guy who's a gumball machine person.
What?
Yeah, that's the other
A
head of the
human
park.
gumball machine?
Yeah. And so those are the two heads of the... And so they try this thing out on him. And the first episode is called The Power. And why? It's because they were like... So Rigby shows it to Mordecai and says, hey, I wanted you to have this. And he's just like, okay, cool. So have you named it yet? And he's like, no, I thought that you could do that. And he's like, I've always wanted to have a girlfriend named The Power. And so they named the synth The Power.
What?
And so now whatever the synth they do with the synth kind of makes it so. And so the episode ends up with them doing stuff and they end up on the moon. In 11 minutes, all of this happens.
So bizarre.
And they get
That's
raises.
amazing.
Yeah. So this show is as weird as it gets.
It's like, again, that this era of cartoon creators is building off the previous era and taking it in different directions.
Yeah.
So you can literally trace a line
Yeah.
from Omelette du Fromage
Really?
to this.
You really can.
It's just like, what if we take that one bizarre episode of Dexter and make an entire show out of it?
Yeah,
And that's
and
what this
they
sounds
really
like.
kind of just take whatever the liberty, and I think that's what's been really great about it because they do whatever they want, and the comedy of their banter is what makes it so fun, like, you know, special, and like it's just like hilarious.
This is the other thing. Cartoons today, when you say they talk like regular people, I think another large part of it is the animation isn't as much in the forefront in terms of like physical stuff
Yeah.
anymore.
It's not like
or
it's
if
not
it
the
is, yeah.
Yeah, I really like this quality of animation. Like
Which
a lot
is
of people,
very cool.
it's not as skilled as what it used to be. Like
Yeah.
that used to be hand drawn, and you know it was so perfectly made and it was beautiful.
Now it tends to be like flatter for
Flatter and
starters,
2D
a
ish,
little more chunky.
I love it, dude.
Yeah, and also it's very dialogue heavy. So like you might just have a scene which is two people sitting and talking, which
Yeah.
was rare earlier,
Yeah,
unless
yeah.
you're talking like Flintstones era.
Yeah, I showed you that clip, right? Like about ham boning. Like,
Yeah.
From regular show. That's like one of the ideas is that he's like to get a raise is like we have to use ham boning, which is the fine art of hitting your own body to make a percussive sound. Like it's a real thing. And it's just like random stuff, man, like in these shows. And another show which is like one of my favorites right now, which is kind of blending a normal kind of like sitcom-y vibe to it, but also in the zany space, is Teen Titans Go.
What a great show.
Amazing show.
It's so
now
fun.
Netflix also, by the way. It's like I think the first 3 seasons are on Netflix.
Nice.
And the cool thing about this show is that they kind of started off as Teen Titans was originally like, you know, this very famous show from the early 2000s,
Early 2000s.
which is
From
a serious
the-
show about Teen Titans.
Towards
yeah.
the end of the Actions comics era.
Exactly. And then they kind of, that show got closed.
Yeah,
They
that
started-
was all the DC teenage heroes coming together.
Which
basically.
it's a comic book.
Yeah.
Which they kind of made into a comic book, I think also after that.
Yeah.
And then they started this thing called Young Justice, which was again another attempt to make a serious kind
similar
of
young teens.
show. And it was very serious, ran for 2 seasons, really good show,
Yeah.
but ended. And so the same cast as Teen Titans, okay, came back for the show called Teen Titans Go, which is like this very kid show, which is as zany as any other shows we've
Yeah.
been talking about. And
Who's it?
they-
It's the cast is Cyborg, Beast Boy,
Yeah. Robin, Starfire,
and Raven.
and Raven.
Yeah,
Same
nice.
cast. The
Yeah,
original
the same
Teen
cast,
Titans.
yeah, yeah.
Like, and they've just come back in this really different avatar, which is like of being comedic kids who are just trying to slack off and just do other stuff.
And they again conform to those various archetypes.
Yeah.
Just what I really like about Teen Titans as well, maybe there's a hallmark of shows from this era, or the shows we like at least. It's so weirdly positive, right?
Yeah, it's
like everyone's best friends and they like get along and there's fun stuff happening.
Yeah, I think they just do whatever they want. Like I was telling you, I sent you a link for one of the episodes where the Teen Titans watch the original Teen Titans show, and there's a villain called Control Freak who says that if you don't bring back the quality of animation and storytelling, then I'm going to reboot you guys. And they're like, no. And so they try and they convert the entire show, and they show, like, they zoom out from the show and show like the taskbar of a computer animator, and they redraw the show to make it look like Downton Abbey. And everybody starts speaking with British accents because that's what they think good quality television is. And in the end they were like, okay, cool, so we didn't get rebooted, but we rebooted ourselves for this reason. So they go back to the original animation and they're like, how do we defeat this? It's like, it's because everybody's watching us, and they all turn towards the viewer, and they're like, the only way is to break the fourth wall, literally. And they destroy the television screen and the show ends.
How do kids even get this?
It is so meta. It blows my mind. There's one, but they do like a lot of spoofs, and like, so they did one which is a complete spoof of Scooby-Doo, okay?
Nice.
And so the 5 of them are Scooby-Doo. So like Beast Boy and Cyborg are Shaggy and
Scooby-Doo, of course.
Robin is Fred, Raven is Wilma, and because she's just like, oh, I can't find my contacts, so she wears these big specs. And so they go around this park and they find out, and they're chasing this ghoul, and it's all the exact same tropes. They kind of mimic them. And the villains turn out to be, and by the way, LeBron James is in this episode.
What?
Yeah, he's the guest star. Like, I used to have Scooby-Doo movies. So he's a guest star. And they throw in a laughter track and everything. And the villain at the end, it's a 2-headed ghoul. They remove it, and you won't believe who it is. It's Batman and Commissioner Gordon.
What?
Because they didn't want anybody to come to this park because they wanted to spend as much time as they can on the the bumper cars. So they scare everybody away. That's the show.
What a
That's
weird
the whole episode.
show.
And every time they show Batman in this show, it's like he's slacking off with Commissioner Gordon, like they're fishing somewhere or just like chilling out somewhere instead of doing their job.
Yeah.
So yeah, just amazing shows, man. Like other shows which I don't think we have the time to get into, but We Bear Bears. It's about 3 bears, a panda, a polar bear, and a grizzly bear who are trying to get with the hipster culture in San Francisco Bay Area. Like, that's the show. It's just hilarious. And the last is Gumball, which is kind of a really cool show, which is kind of a more children's show. But it's like they create sets out of real kind of like, they build like doll houses and then they animate characters within that. Like, it's like a mixed media kind of show.
That's
really,
nice.
really nice show. So yeah, there's a bunch of really, really good shows, man, like out there, which I think people need to watch to really get why we still think that, animation is in very safe hands right now, man.
You know what's maybe what's different is they aren't as easy to find anymore. Like earlier, you could watch
them
a
on
Fox
television.
animation show anywhere, but Adventure Time's not on television here, for example.
Yeah, but they are making their ways onto like Netflix or streaming platforms.
Teen
and stuff.
Titans Go, you were saying, is on Netflix.
Teen Titans on Netflix, which I wish, man. I wish Adventure Time and stuff like that.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
It's probably on Netflix.
It's probably on something. Amazon Prime. I don't know.
Adult
Like,
Swim.
it's on Adult Swim. Oh yeah, of course,
right.
Adult Swim.
Adult Swim.
But they don't have
This
their
is
own
the Adult
platform.
Swim era of
Yeah, it
cartoons.
really is. I can't believe we didn't talk about
Oh
Adult
my
Swim.
god. Okay, Adult Swim,
Another episode.
by itself.
Yeah.
Adult cartoons, another episode by itself.
Yeah. So I think we can wrap for now. Basically, animation is great. Don't worry about it.
It's all good.
It's all good. Watch any
Enjoy
of these shows
yourselves.
that we've spoken about, and you will see why.
Ooh, honorable mention, which we didn't cover, Sheep in the Big City.
A show way too ahead
It
of its
bridges
time.
the era between what we talked about in the second half of the episode and the first half of the
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah.
Really. Because it's a weird, meta, like, funny show.
Yeah.
With very intellectual sort of humor,
It's
but
too
also
meta.
it's just a great fun show.
Yeah.
It is so meta. Each episode would have like
You
3
know,
acts.
it reminds me a lot of BoJack because,
Yes.
in the sense that they had so many of these animal puns in that show, but they would also have like a lot of like they'd just be like normal narrative stuff where like dark moments when they finally catch sheep. I don't know if you guys, this is too random for you to listen to, but like Sheep in the Big City is about a sheep in the big city trying to escape the government and the army because they want to use him for
and
sheep
the
powered.
farm where it grew up.
Yeah, and the farm where he grew up because they all want to use him for sheep powered ray gun.
Which
That's
is
the show.
The sheep-powered ray gun is a giant ray gun with a single sheep-shaped cutout. that the sheep has to be placed into.
It's so funny.
Like,
Anyway.
all the names are oxymorons, like general specific.
And
and
Oxymoron
private
is the
public.
name of the
The
fake company.
fake sponsor of the show. But you're right that it's related to BoJack Horseman. I will draw this line for you. So, Sheep in the Big City was
Yeah.
created by a dude called Mo Willems.
Correct, Mo Willems, yeah.
Who eventually left animation and
Okay.
became a children's book author. And the children's books tend to be his most famous character is this pigeon, and it's very Sheep in the Big City, but it's more focused towards kids. So there aren't
Okay.
as many jokes that'll go above their heads.
Right.
And his art style and his outlook in general inspired Lisa Hanawalt, who designed the BoJack Horseman characters.
Oh my god.
It's
well
nuts.
done.
Yeah.
That is the greatest line ever. Shit, I
Yeah.
can't believe that. Wow.
A line that created two of the greatest shows of our era.
It makes so much sense.
Amazing. Everyone
Oh.
be friends.
Everyone be friends. This is great. Okay, cool. So if you guys have any thoughts on all the shows that we spoke about, or if you have any shows that we've missed, we haven't spoken about things like Over the Garden Wall
Yeah.
or
Foster's Home for Imaginary
one
Friends.
of my favorites.
What
I
a
finished
great
the
show.
entire show also.
Yeah,
I
it's
finished
so
the entire
good.
show. So
and
good.
also sometimes so dark.
And yeah, very true to the. It almost felt Pixar-y because of the themes that it would
Because
get
of
into.
that's what Inside Out is about in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my dude. Anyway, I can't even.
Here's what's happening. When
Yeah.
we started out this series, we had this razor sharp focus of we'll talk about Flintstones and Jetsons, and we come out of it. But now that
Now we're
getting
talking
into
about life.
yeah, there are so many more shows in this in the last 30 years,
Yeah.
and there's so many of them are so good, and so many of them go in so many different directions.
Gravity Falls. Even,
Gravity Falls,
my
we haven't
gosh.
even touched
Yeah,
on.
We haven't touched upon. Oh my gosh, we need to do more.
Look for
episodes.
Water Cartoon episode 3.2.
Yeah, we're gonna discuss a few more shows, which we just need to because they're just great.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Dinkar, this has been great though.
Yeah.
We started off with Tom and Jerry, ended with life. Oh gosh. Okay, cool. I hope you guys have enjoyed the series. If you want more episodes, let us know and tell us about cartoons that we should watch. Tell us about some anime shows that you think we should watch. Some of them. What is your anime 101? Because we're gonna get into that. Dinkar and I have been kind of shying away from anime for a while now. But
For
we're
all
gonna,
of our lives, really.
Yeah, we're
I
gonna.
never-
We used to watch anime when we were kids, like Ninja Robots and things like that.
Yeah, but
Serum of
I don't know.
Cybertron and
Never
things
got
like
into anime in a serious sense.
Yeah, that's true.
We're
We
not
watched
truly
all the
otaku.
shows that anime inspired,
Yes.
like
Like
Megas XLR
Yeah.
shows like that. Yeah. So we're gonna
Vegas
definitely get
XLR, I forgot about that.
great show.
What a
2
great
seasons
show.
only, but so
Yeah.
good. Anyway, so talk about that and mail us contactgeekfruit@gmail.com. You can find us on our website on the contact tab. That's geekfruit.in. Find us on social media at geekfruithq on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Yes.
All right, see you later, you nerds.
He bends down to test the warm water for his bath. He comes here to quench his thirst for a hot shower and some podcasts. You can witness how he enjoys having other people talk about cool stuff in his bathroom. Indeed, it helps him with his loneliness. You can find more of his pieces on ivmpodcast.com, your one-stop destination where you can check out the coolest Indian podcasts. Happy listening.